What is up, everyone? How's it going?
What up?
Welcome
What
to another
up?
podcast.
Yo.
I think we are on episode 20. It's crazy.
Uh-huh. We also are live for the first time on Garrett the Gamer TikTok.
On TikTok?
TikTok.
Sick, dude.
That is Restream, which is the service we use to stream to all these different platforms at the same time, is now like letting us link to TikTok. But
man.
I'm trying to test if we can see the comments from TikTok.
Okay.
Doesn't look like it. It's a bummer. All right, I'll keep TikTok open so I can see y'all. See y'all lurking over there.
I'll have to get our Practical Reality podcast TikTok all attached.
That's a new feature. TikTok's playing nice with people, which is
That's good.
A new development.
Funny things happen when you almost get banned.
Funny things happen when politics and such.
Yeah.
But this isn't a politics show, guys. This is a gaming show where we talk about the latest gaming and tech news. And my name is Garrett, also known as Garrett the Gamer. I'm here with my buddy Declan. You guys don't know us, you should. Like, it's been long enough. 20 episodes in. Come on.
Heck yeah. And he's the voice of Breadbox.
The Breadbox, the one, the only Breadbox. And Nintendo Switch, which it seems like most people like that voice better than the other ones. But
I don't know how you haven't gotten canceled yet.
I did get called racist for the first time, so that was fun.
Ooh, man, you're making it. Somebody
showed up.
called you out?
Somebody called me out and said, all right, hey, man, it's a super racist accent. I'm like,
that means
I'm
you're
truly
making
just trying to represent the diverse world that is the gaming community by, just representing where they're from. But, hey, I am a white guy trying to represent that, so.
Isn't Sony technically, like, Japanese as well?
So, I was looking into this because, that is one of the comments I get most frequently. It's like, hey, why isn't Sony a Japanese accent? It's like, well, yeah, they are based in Japan. You are correct. But, like, they also have, like, a whole PlayStation America network.
Yeah.
So it's like.
So does Nintendo, though.
Yeah, but, I mean, come on. Nintendo is Nintendo.
True.
He's Samurai Switch, dude. Like, he's the GOAT. Like, you got to give him the goated accent, the anime accent.
Heck yeah.
Anyway, so.
Well, cool, guys. If you've never joined us before, we typically start off the podcast every episode with a win and a loss of the week. Each of us have a win and a loss. So I would like to start one of the games that I've been talking about a lot lately, one that I've been enjoying. This is a win. It's called The Bazaar. Today it goes on open beta. So now you can get it for free and play. So up until now, it's been closed beta. You had to pay $30 and pre-order it, which I pre-ordered it back when it was on Kickstarter in like 2016. Okay. So I've been playing through the entire closed beta, and now it's an open beta. So yeah, look it up. The Bazaar, fun. My loss is also about the Bazaar, though, so we'll jump into that after.
It's the fact that it's in closed beta. Some people really get up in arms about that. It's really funny.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of content creators making content about it, so it's like gotten out there. I think like people have seen it, and people that really wanted to play it have downloaded it and purchased it because I don't know, $30 has been worth it to me to be able to play it as much as I have already. Like anytime I have a second to sit down, I play it. That's pretty much my chill game. So it's been a lot of fun since I have purchased it. And it's got a pretty good player base already. So
that's good.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of early access. I know this is kind of a debate in the gaming community. Everyone's like, early access is stupid. Just release a good game. And it's like, well, early access is the perfect time to, like, as a developer, actually figure out what the community wants in a game. So
for sure.
I love hearing people using it properly. But the argument is some people are like, they released it in early access and then they never actually release it or fix it all the way. And it's like, I see that too. But
this one has been through a lot of different phases in gameplay. So they've been using it like a really good opportunity to do open beta. They've changed a lot of things, retuned a lot of things, changed the way that a lot of the mechanics in the game work. So they've done a really good job of taking advantage of that closed beta.
That's like how you should use it. Like, I think that is the appropriate way for a development team to use it. You basically are putting a game out there. You're getting real players into the game to get feedback.
Exactly.
and like you can adjust and like refine the game based off of their early feedback. That's
Yeah.
how you should be using it. What
100%.
what I actually disagree with more is like I actually hate pre-orders.
Really?
Told you this? Like pre-ordering a game, I hate because it's like number one, there's no longer physical stock.
That's
It's
true.
not like you're gonna run out of it. Like you're
Yeah.
literally just giving them money ahead of time. And a lot of times people will just be like, yeah, we got your money.
We're done.
We're good. We're good. We made the money.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I think honestly, we've had a lot of games flop at launch recently. And I think that actually might be one of the reasons why is because they're like,
Interesting.
well, we got the pre-order money. Like, well, who cares if it's actually in a good shape when we release it?
Yeah.
But anyway.
Cool.
where I'm
What's your win or loss?
Okay, let's start with the geez, I don't know. Both of them are kind of interesting. I'll start with the loss, all right?
Okay.
Helldivers
Yep.
experienced one of the most interesting bugs ever. Like Helldivers is obviously I love the game. We're repping Helldivers merch today. Freaking love the game. Freaking love everything about it. Love their studio. Freaking Arrowhead Games is one of the best AAA studios in the market right now. Love what they're doing. But they're doing something that no one has ever done before. They're running into issues that I feel like no one has ever run into before. And the issue that they ran into over the weekend is they pushed an update to their backend, and suddenly planet liberation rates just shot through the roof. Friggin', we cleared out an entire sector in like 2 hours. And they straight up, they're just like, pause. They hit pause on the entire galactic war. They're like, there's an issue. We're just pausing for a second. And there's like the age-old joke of like, oh, you can't pause a live action game. And it's like, well, we just proved we can. So that was kind of a loss, but this isn't my win, but I also think it was incredible how fast they pushed out the fix for that. Again, it was on the back end, so it was probably a lot easier to address than having to push out a fix to everybody. But
that's cool.
I was really interesting kind of lost because it was a lot of fun to liberate the planets as fast as we were liberating for a second there. And they paused the live action game.
If we don't win though, that's like we probably got so much progress way faster than we're supposed to, and if we can't finish it up, then the community is full of chumps.
Dude, I mean, for like straight up, we cleared out an entire sector of automatons so fast. It was crazy. It was freaking crazy. But anyway. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
So my loss this week is the Bazaar, their monetization strategy. So it's a free-to-play game. They just announced how they're going to monetize it. And the whole idea of this game is like right now, each character that's available has 100 cards or options that they can choose from while you're building your board. And the idea was they were just going to continue to release options for all the characters as they continue to develop it. And it was all going to be free to play. They just announced that their monetization is on a subscription battle pass, and some cards are going to be locked behind that battle pass for the first, duration until the battle pass is done. And then you can buy the extra cards with in-game things afterwards. So essentially they're like gatekeeping some new cards that are potentially going to be really good for people that pay for them and then putting them out publicly later.
Does that
which
count
people are
as
calling pay to win? Yeah.
I
mean, because it's a game where you gain those points off of winning a match. So you have to win 10 1v1 matches. And then if you do that, you get a ton of points. And there's like different levels of victories. So like a bronze victory is winning 4 matches. Silver is winning 7. Gold is winning 10. You get more for the level of victory. If you're playing ranked, if you get a bronze victory, you don't lose any rank. If you get a silver, you gain 1 rank. And if you get a gold, you gain a couple of rank, So the whole game itself is based off of the PvP. But if you're paying for 10 cards in a pack that other players don't have access to, you are inherently getting some type of advantage over other players.
You're paying to get your that's like definition pay to win. Yeah. Don't love that.
And the guy who developed the game, his name's Reynad. He's been a pretty big guy in the card space for a while. He kind of said, well, I just pissed off a ton of people on Reddit, so I know that I'm doing a good job with my monetization strategy. Essentially, he's like, I pissed everybody off, so it means I'm on the right track type of a thing.
I mean, I will say, because again, I was a paid experience. SailVR was a paid experience before we switched it over to a free to play game.
Yeah.
And that decision, literally, I made the game cheaper.
Yeah.
And that decision was met with so much like pushback.
Yeah.
So monetization is hard because it's money, right?
Yeah.
Everyone fights hard for money, and I get that. I totally understand that. It's totally
For sure.
reasonable. But I do think there are some that are more unjust than others. Some strategies that are not as great as others, but that
Yeah.
might just be me.
I agree. I mean, you have to monetize somehow.
Especially if you're free to play. Like,
Yeah.
you have to do something on top of the gameplay if you're going to maximize your reach through free to play. It's true.
And it was a Kickstarted game, so it had some capital going into it.
Which probably went 100% into development.
Oh,
like,
100%.
that's probably totally burned at this point.
It's been in development for multiple years, and he's been working on it hardcore to make sure it is exactly what he wanted it to be.
Yeah.
So he's invested a lot of money, and now he has to recuperate that somehow. I totally get, like, you have to monetize it. I'm still going to play it. I really like the game. I'm not very good at it. I usually win 5 to 6 head-on-head matches. Like, I have a hard time getting past to that, like, 10 tier victory. I always play ranked because there's not a big difference, but like, I'll still pay to play. I don't mind paying for it. I enjoy it. It's a lot of my time. Like, if I have free time, or even if I'm just waiting for something, I'll turn it on because it's an asynchronous game. So nice. I can play like 3 matches and then turn it off and jump back in and still be in a competitive match. Like, I don't have to be playing constantly. I can essentially pause it and then, jump off, do whatever else I need, and jump back on, and it's still a live but asynchronous multiplayer competitive game. So it's a lot of fun. It just works perfectly for me, and it's a really good chill game for my lifestyle. So I'm going to play it, but I know a lot of people won't support a pay-to-win game in this sense. So
yeah, we should check back in on that in a couple months, like post-release and whatnot.
Yeah,
because I'd be curious to see if like he holds out on the subscription model and it works.
Yeah.
Or if it's just such a turn off that people just
quit.
review bomb the game or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, my feeling is he's going to change to you pay for cosmetics and you pay for new champions. That's kind of my guess. Paying for new champions would suck still for some people, but that's better than paying for cards. Like, you could get all the cards for free once you unlock the character, no matter if they add more in the future. But paying for the character in general to be able to play them, but also being able to get in-game currency to pay for them, like, that is in line with me with the way that most free-to-play games are, like League of Legends. Like, you have to pay for the characters. You can earn money to pay for them in-game currency, but you can also pay for them like with real currency as well. So
yeah, I mean, like, that's like Apex Legends. Like, we played the crap out of Apex Legends, and literally, like, if you don't, like, you can earn the characters through just playing the game, but like, that takes longer than it would to just, like,
for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, interesting. That's not super fun.
Yeah, we'll see. I think it'll still be fine. There's enough good content creators. I don't see any of the content creators that I watch that I enjoy that play the game jumping off of it anytime soon. So
yeah, that's good. Which, I mean, after our conversation last week with Jordan from Derby VR, I've been thinking a lot about his whole thing where he's like, look, the games that you create are platforms for creation, content creation, especially, and I've been thinking about that a lot, and I've just seen that, like, it's really true. A lot of the popular games nowadays aren't necessarily popular because, like, the gameplay is great or whatever. It's because it creates such good content.
Yep. And I like watching these videos. Like, I watch a lot of games, and these ones are pretty fun. So I don't know.
So yeah, he's got something.
I watch the videos, and I think they're good live and recorded content.
That's good. I think that's a recipe for success. Truly do. Well, my win. I have 2 wins of this last week.
Sweet.
So first and foremost, Orion Drift, the new game from Another Axiom, came out, and I jumped into it and I played it. We played with chat, which was truly one of the funnest streams I've had in a long time.
Okay.
Like, literally, those servers can hold up to 75 people, which is insane. And I had like a group of like 10 guys
Yeah.
who were just showing me around the game. I had everybody muted
Cool.
because I'm not about to get canceled from
Yeah.
other people saying stuff on my streams. But we jumped into the game, and literally these guys, like, they have such fun mechanics in that game. Like, you can grab onto people. So I literally just had this dude who was like grabbed onto me the whole time, and he would just stick his finger in front of me and tell me like which way to go. It was like having this little GPS on my back. It was so fun. It was so much fun.
That's hilarious.
And like that game, I didn't realize how much I missed like VR sports.
Yeah.
Like, that sport is so fun.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like, I sat in there and played. I even jumped in. Like, this is the crazier thing, is I jumped in after stream. I just played casually for a little while because I freaking punched the ceiling because I was playing on my omnidirectional treadmill, which is really nice because the treadmill allows me to like do the 360 movement, but it makes me like a foot taller, which means I'm punching my ceiling. So I was bleeding by the end of stream, which was great. But dude, it was so freaking fun to play sports again in VR and have it be competitive and to feel like there was this skill, and it was just so casual. And then the whole place is huge. They have golf in it. Like, I was just blown away at like this sheer amount of stuff. Like, Orion Drift, seriously, like, 2 enthusiastic thumbs up. Great game. Looking forward to it. I guess
give an overview of the gameplay, because I'm pretty sure I understand what it is, but just for people that might not.
Yeah, so again, this is from the team Another Axiom, their other big game that you probably may have heard of. I always call them the pixelated monkeys, but it is Gorilla Tag. Yep. So they took the Gorilla Tag movement and they kind of evolved it a little bit. So it's that same basic concept where you're just using your hands, but you now have these like balls on your hands, so you can kind of like rollerblade around, and you're a robot in space on the space station. Okay. And the big thing you can do in this game is they have this sport called driftball, which is essentially soccer while you're rollerblading around. It's a ton of fun. You play 3v3, and it's just basically soccer. You play for, I think it's like 12 minutes, and whoever has more points at the end wins. If you're tied at the end, you go into an overtime, which is just sudden death. Whoever scores first wins. Super, super fun. But like, they've taken this ball mechanic because they just created this really awesome like ball and ball handling and everything like that, and they've made it into basically everything. So you, along with the like the roller skating that they have, you can also use the old Echo VR movement where you can just go flying. And so like you have these little rockets on your hands and you just push the buttons and you go flying off into the distance. And so
I was going to ask about that. So it is like zero gravity.
Yes, there are zero gravity zones that you can go into. And then so the whole thing is like this circular space station with sections, right? So one section is what they call the driftball district, and that's where you go play driftball. You can also go to the golf district, which like you have this ball and you can go and play golf with it. And it's legit golf. Like, you tee off and there's like a par and there's a hole you're trying to get to. It's a ton of fun. And they also have like a parkour district. I'm assuming they're going to add like tag and stuff to that. They've got climbing. I've heard rumors that they're going to resurrect Echo because they have a 0G zone. They have a 0G zone at the center of the space station. And like, it would not take much for them to just put in discs and let you play. Or, I mean, even if they keep the ball mechanic, I don't care. It was a ton of fun. But the really cool thing, go ahead.
No, you're good. Keep going.
No, the cool thing that I feel like Another Axiom does really well in Gorilla Tag and also this game is exploration.
Okay.
Like, they have created this whole great quest system that just keeps you going and doing new things and trying new things, and there's rewards for it. And so, and it also like walks you through like all the different things. So like, we went and did like the parkour quests, which was like you had to pass these parkour courses and get all of these little like acquirables inside the course. And then the like content creators, going back to like the content creation thing, like there's secret quests that like you have to find on this giant space station full of 75 different people. And apparently, I just heard this, and people have been talking about this in chat, they're going to try to amp it up to 200 people per server, which is wild. And it plays so seamlessly. It's insane. Like, it's crazy. Like, it's been a while since I've jumped into a game and just sat there and was like, there's so much to do. There's so many places I could go. There's so, like, it was wild. Just absolutely crazy. I was blown away at the scale of everything and how well it works. And yeah, well, it was so fun. It was so fun.
No, that's dope. I think, so do you think First off, my first thought of this, because they open sourced Gorilla Tag movement, do you think they'll open source their ball control movement after a while? Is that something that you would like to see, or
Um,
do you think that would be something that other games could support?
Potentially. I don't feel like so like the Gorilla Tag movement was so revolutionary because
Yeah.
like it was movement. It was
Yeah.
like the basis of a game and it works so well in virtual reality. So like them make open sourcing that is incredible for the sake of like that's the basis of now a lot of the top games on the MetaQuest right now
Yeah.
use that base movement system. As for like the ball physics, I don't feel like it's anything special.
Okay.
Like I feel like it's more that they have like such good networking that
Yeah.
it like feels good between players, which
That's
is the
awesome.
harder thing. Um so that's kind of like my thoughts on that. People saying that there's problems with sale because there's nothing to do. We actually are working on a major content update for exactly that,
Heck
guys.
yeah.
We're working on a big PvE update that's going to include a whole bunch of new enemies, quest types, and potentially, well, this is confirmed, but the Kraken will also be making an appearance. So
Ooh,
that'll be fun.
Kraken. That's awesome.
Kraken. But yeah.
That
Anyway,
that sounds like a
Ryder.
lot of fun. I know people have been hyped about it for a while. I'm excited to see kind of that like 0G gameplay added again, but hopefully better supported than it was when it was with Meta. Um, I still love the Ender's Game. Like to me, that's one of my favorite books of all time, and that whole war simulation room where they had that game that they could play, where you had to throw the disc into the other goal or whatever, and um, you were just floating around in 0G. Like that was one of my dreams for VR, and I think that it just takes like a good group of people that are passionate about it to really recreate something like that.
Oh, absolutely. And I think again, another axiom, like you guys can hate on Gorilla Tag all you want, but like these guys have learned what is best for VR and they've proven it yet again in their second game, making it fun for literally everyone. So like it takes passionate people and again I prefer that they're outside of Meta's
Yeah,
control because
for
again
sure.
they're going to keep doing this because they're going to make money and they're going to survive off of
Yeah,
whether or not the game is successful, not whether or not that pushes whatever Meta's super goals are that nobody
for
knows
sure.
about. But yeah, no, I like it made me excited again for like VR sports, which I feel like was kind of killed off by the killing of Echo VR
Yep,
when Meta shut it down. But this I'm sitting here like looking at I mean, I don't know if you know this, but I played on a VR esports league for a second
yeah,
there
I
with
remember that.
Hyperdash. I
Yep.
played on that for a little while. It was a ton of fun. Didn't quite have time with it with everything else I was doing in life, so I stopped doing it. But like I'm sitting here looking at Driftball and I'm like, man, like I could get so good at it. You know, it's like it's that
The addiction,
it's that oh
the
crap,
grind.
the grind is back. But oh
That's
man,
funny.
it's it's been a minute since there's been a game where I've just stepped into it and like literally like you step into that game and you look up and like you're in space and you're seeing people floating above you and around you and people playing ball. It's they just again fantastic, just fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll usher in a new like era, I guess, of
I
VR
hope so.
again. And I mean, it makes me think of that game that's being made by ASICS or whatever, Disc as well. Like, I hope that
Yeah.
one does well and takes off, and because that could be a fun competitive esport. Like, one of the coolest things, I know the esports industry has kind of died off a lot over the last little bit, but I still think like physical competitive VR esports would be so much fun because it brings in like that competitive physical nature of a regular sport too, but adds just a cool like virtual skin to it to make it, I don't know, like less more fantasy or sci-fi based than a regular sport is.
I actually talked to a guy last year at some point who was trying to set up a high school level esports league in Utah, where I'm located,
Yeah.
and it was interesting talking to him about the struggles he faces trying to set up esports because finding kids who want to play esports and play against it, not a problem. What becomes the problem is actually spectators
Yeah.
because a lot of esports relies on number one, good announcers who know the game and can kind of explain what's going on. But on
Mhm.
top of that, there is a lot of camera work that has to happen in the game and like the presentation of it to a group of people that actually requires a lot of like technology first and foremost,
Yeah.
but second off, it just requires a lot of kind of know-how in that realm as well.
For sure.
So VR, I feel like is unique in that sense where like the whole game is happening inside of one instance, and you could create like if it like what was it? What was their name? Triangle Factory, the guys behind Hyperdash, actually
Yeah.
created a whole Steam client that was just a hover camera, and it was all about spectating their sports. You know, like, and it made it extremely easy to do like broadcasts of Hyperdash tournaments and stuff because of
Yeah.
just this. They built a whole system for it, and I think more developers need to put some time and like effort into creating those kind of tools. We talked
Yeah.
a little bit about that with Jordan last time too.
For sure.
But yeah, I'm hoping that when Orion Drift pushes out to like Steam and all these other platforms, I hope they create those kind of tools, because I truly do think that they will easily be able to create like a like straight up like a streamable, watchable,
Yeah.
constant league. It's so fun.
No, that'd be awesome. I would tune in for that. I think I mean, like it is going to be very important to get good cameras, which made me super excited about what Jordan was talking about, like having good ways to view these types of games. And that's a problem in regular like video games too. I know Valorant, Riot's game, has had some problems with its internal viewer and like watching and hosting tournaments and the way that their cameras work. A lot of people hate. League of Legends was so fun because it was easy to swap from person to person, and you could always be in the action of the League of Legends match. But it's harder to do that when you're doing something that's like in like real time with more like controlled movements and stuff with your hands. And I don't know, like League of Legends, you're just kind of clicking a button in a map. But with something like that, there's so much more nuance that you have to be able to see with people's hands moving. And so the camera work inside of a VR game has to really be something like you would see at a professional level sporting event, which is something that probably a lot of video game developers have never really thought about how to create before. So
No, and I do think though, like going back to the rise of like VR esports and stuff, with like driftball, it's such an easier sport to understand because it kind of
yeah,
follows the basic concepts of what we know to be sports outside
yeah,
of virtual reality. Whereas, you know, like if I personally, who I'm a decent gamer, I would say, like if I were to tune into a League of Legends like esports, I would have no idea
yes,
what's going on.
for
I'd have
sure.
zero clue. Unless there was really good announcers explaining every step of the way, like what's going on. Whereas if you drop into a driftball stream, you would kind of be like, oh, hey, guy has the ball. That looks
Yeah,
like the goal. He
ball,
scored.
go, and
Whoa.
goal.
Yeah. So I like going with all these things coming together. I really feel like there's this new market about to emerge. There's something that's a practically reality going to our
Yeah.
podcast name, where there's going to be this rise in both esports and like esports streaming from virtual reality
Yes.
because of the unique like understandability that is virtual reality. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Maybe I'll host a driftball tournament in the Garrett the Gamer Discord. Get some teams.
That'd be fun. I think that would be a really good like community thing, like a bracket. That'd be dope if you could get enough people to do a bracket, like a March Madness tournament for driftball.
Driftball March, yo, dude, yeah. The gears are turning.
Hey, there we go.
Get some nice like some super. I could probably get some people to like sponsor it too. Ooh, gears are turning, boys.
Yeah, there we go. Let's do it.
Turning, boys.
Get it going. We can be the commentators. I'll commentate with you.
There you go. This guy with ball. That's how I commentate. It's about how fast my brain works when live action sports are happening.
You can be the color commentator then.
Okay, blue, red, blue.
No. Never mind. That's like the fun one. The other guy's like you have like an analytical commentator and a color commentator.
Oh, I'm the comedic relief. Okay,
exactly.
Gotcha. Oh, that's funny.
Well, I think that that kind of segues a little bit into the topic that Garrett and I were kind of talking about today, just like how, we're excited about this because for a long time there hasn't been anything fun to really push like the boundaries of VR this way. So I saw an interesting video that I'm going to share on YouTube really fast, just the I guess the name of the video. I'll just share the screen of the still. It's called Technology Isn't Fun Anymore. It's by Drew Gooden, who I just started following Drew. He only puts out a video every month, which is pretty interesting, but this one has gone viral. It's a couple days old at this point, and it's like still trending number 30 on YouTube's top watched.
It's awesome.
But it went viral like when it came out. So in this video, he kind of talks about how like growing up, when tech would come out, there was tons of hype. Like it was fun, it was cool.
Such an event.
Oh yeah. I remember watching Apple press conferences as like a teenager in high school because I just was so excited every single time they released a new iPhone to see what they were going to put in there. Like it was always leaps and bounds in the evolution of technology. And he starts off this whole video talking about televisions, how they were at an Airbnb and they got there and they had this giant, awesome, one of those painting TVs that kind of just mount with a picture frame, and it was up against the wall. And they're like, all right, well, we're just going to kind of chillax and watch something cool on the streaming service here. And they jumped on the TV and they turned it on, and it looked terrible. Like the resolution was terrible. He looked up the price of the TV. It was like a $6,000 TV. The resolution was bad. It had that anti-stutter technology or whatever that smooths between frames on movies, the AI that's like interpolating the frames on it. So it just looked super janky. I don't know if you've seen a TV with that, but
I haven't.
It basically like it uses AI to create a frame in between the 60 frames per second. So it's 120 frames per second, but it's just kind of guessing what that is. And in video games, it makes sense, but in movies, it doesn't, that type of a thing.
Yeah.
So he was just talking about how like everything that's coming out just kind of makes things suck. Like it's not as fun. Like with that TV, you would think as a TV gets more expensive and cooler, like it should do better things, but this was essentially a worse television that looked really bad, but it just was kind of, hey, instead of a TV, we have a piece of artwork. That's what the whole thing about that technology is, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of a trend in technology. People are coming out with things that, I don't know, are like industrial in nature, but a lot of like the fun creative stuff just isn't being made anymore. Like if you look back at the leaps of the iPhones, I don't think there's really been a change in an iPhone since the iPhone X. Honestly, like let's be honest, if we go back to the X, that was probably one of the last big updates I feel like to the hardware, other than like speeds and stuff. But
yeah,
and like tiny resolution. He showed the graphics from 1995 of video games to 2005, then 2005 to 2015. And then from 2015 to 2025, you could
it looks like they're getting
tell
worse.
a difference.
Yeah. And or worse.
Like he showed the side by side of the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 5 Pro, and you have to like squint your eyes and like really look to see any difference between the two.
Yep.
So, and they're just charging outrageous amounts of money for this technology that is maybe minutely better to some small group of people. So it's just like this debate that technology is kind of becoming stagnant and not actually becoming better. And a lot of people are kind of reverting to the older technologies because it was a lot cooler. Like I know people, like personally for me, I buy so many books now.
Yeah.
So like this whole thing over here, I could buy all these things as a PDF and use it on an iPad or my phone or something like that. But there's just such an appeal to having like a physical book now, or like records or CDs. I know people that are buying DVDs again.
Yeah.
Like people are wanting to go back to these older days. The last piece of cool tech that I bought, I think, was this Playdate, which is this little game console, but it's only cool because it mimics old school technology. There's no backlight. Like it's a small screen. It's all black and white. It's minimal. The games are less than 500 megabytes for one game. Most of them are probably closer to like 10 to 15 megabytes for a full game. And then it has this little crank, but like, I don't know, the things that we are making now just aren't making me as excited. And it kind of honestly is making me want to jump back in time to have some of the old technology better, because like they can't. I saw something the other day. This guy bought a smart thermostat, put the thermostat in his house, and now he has to pay a subscription to be able to use his thermostat.
Oh
Like,
my
isn't that
gosh.
crazy?
That's yeah. Like stuff like that drives me absolutely insane. Like I don't think it would be so bad. So we do you remember talking about ubiquitous technology, Declan, back in HCI?
A little bit, yeah.
So the in human computer interaction, there's this whole term, guys, called ubiquitous, or was that it?
I
Was
think
that the
so.
term? Where the idea that like technology will slowly become unseen in your life, right? And I think what like we're realizing is that that theory might be kind of flawed in the sense that like people do want to know what they're interacting with. They don't want technology to be completely invisible,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's got to be like useful. Does that make sense? I mean, like these subscriptions and stuff are just proving that like the greed of these companies that are in charge right now is starting to get in the way in the actual practicality of certain things.
Yeah.
And like I love when I see new companies that are starting up on that entire premise where it's just like for example, there's a company that just got started recently where oh freak like they're a solar company. I'm pretty sure
Mhm.
everyone here has seen solar ads somewhere. There's a huge movement across the entire nation to put solar panels on everybody's roofs. The problem is the way that most solar panel companies work is they're actually working with the local electric companies, the
Mhm.
electricity providers. And so when you get solar energy onto these solar panels, it's not going into your home to power your home. It's actually going back onto the
To the
grid to
grid.
supply other people with, and they actually give you credits to your electric bill based off of how much power you put back into the
That's
grid.
crazy.
And so there's this whole new company. I actually don't know how new they are, but I recently discovered them that they're called Project Solar. And their whole thing is it's like your solar, your power. Like,
Yeah.
don't you don't need someone else to be munching on your power, like to stay off the grid. You don't need to be on the grid. This is solar. That's why we invented solar, was to stop having to use these giant General Electric companies, you know? Um, and like seeing people do that, like basically kind of making entire companies based off of this like sticking to the man thing is I kind of feel like the way things are going. I talk about this all the time, but there was a study that was done recently where if you just had the word AI in the title of your product,
Yeah.
it didn't sell as well. Like
Mhm.
consumers were less likely to purchase your product if it had the title AI in it. Whereas if it just had regular whatever, that was the kind of like, you know, the thing. So yeah, I mean, like I'm with you too. Like I have my wife is an avid reader right now,
Mhm.
and she has what she calls shelf trophies. Like
Yep.
she actually reads the book on her Kindle and reads it on like Audible and stuff. But then she buys a physical book as like a
To put on.
trophy to say
Yeah.
like
That's
this is what I
awesome.
did. But yeah, the whole idea that like technology is no longer fun is like what a fascinating topic like to think
Yeah.
about because I'm with you. Dude, I was the same way. Freaking Apple used to be the most incredible thing to watch because they'd be
Mhm.
like, and here's this new iPod Nano that's thinner than a pencil, and it was like can hold 20,000 songs, which like I'm sure everyone here is just thinking that's so nerdy. But like to us, where we were
Oh, yeah.
growing up, where that was like a totally new thing, it
It's
was incredible.
crazy. Yeah.
But like, yeah, we just don't see that anymore. I feel like the last time I was truly blown away by like some kind of tech announced, and again, I went to CES this year, and kind of everything I saw, I was kind of like, yeah, seen that before.
Yeah.
But the last, I mean, like Apple's revealing of the Vision Pro was the last time that I was kind of like, okay, like here's something new, here's something crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just don't see crazy tech anymore, and it might like I don't know, it's just sad.
I think like one of the coolest pieces of technology that I saw recently, and it's one of the things that we've talked about a little bit before, was 3D printing. Like growing up, I took engineering classes and I learned how to use AutoCAD, which is a engineering software to make 3D models for printing. But I mean, for like industrial use and stuff as well. But you can use those files to 3D print. And I mean, 3D printing for a long time has been very difficult, but Bamboo Labs is kind of a company that's come up in the last couple of years, and they make 3D printing hardware that is just easy to use. Like that was a huge thing. And then with that, like you can make whatever you want. Like that's why it's exciting to me. That's why it's fun. you can kind of do what you want with the technology. Even they, though, are trying to restrict users to being able to use like specific things. They had a firmware update and some huge controversy last month about like them trying to essentially remove your rights to do whatever you wanted with your 3D printer. And that's kind of a big thing I'm seeing in general. Like, I know there's a huge push for electronic vehicles, and my grandpa has an electronic, I think it's a Silverado, fully electronic truck. And to get it, like to get heat warmers in the truck, he had to pay to have heat warmers added in, but now he has to pay a monthly fee to be able to use his seat warmers inside of his car. Or like to be able to go get his car charged. He had to go to the superchargers to do the Tesla superchargers. They wouldn't charge at a regular Tesla station. But then as well, he had to get an adapter to put into his car. And that's the only way that he can actually charge his car fully, because if he charges it at his house, he doesn't charge it enough overnight to recuperate all the battery that he used the day before. So he has to go sit at a charging station. Luckily, he works at a dealership and they have a supercharger on site, so he charges it there. But
that is not the case for everyone. Like, that's a very unique circumstance where it works for him.
Yeah, but just like with all this stuff, I don't know. I shared probably, I mean, I don't know if you saw this. I shared it on LinkedIn. It was this AI necklace that you could wear. Let me see if I can find it.
I know what you're talking about. I think I've seen this before. I didn't see your post about it, but I have seen this necklace.
It's called Friend.
Okay.
And let me see if I can find the website. I think it's just like friend.com or something like that. But it's a website where, or not a website, it's an AI tool where you wear it on your neck and then you talk to it and it'll send you a text message. And it's essentially supposed to like replace human interaction. It's a chat bot inside of your necklace that you can talk to on your necklace. All of their advertisements are like talking about how they felt so anxious hanging out with their real life friends that they wanted to just chat with like a chat bot instead on their neck. So like that type of technology, or those AI pins that were fake that I think now went out of business, or the Rabbit R1, which if you don't know anything about the creator of the R1, was somebody who built a crypto rug pull, then renamed the same exact company. It was the same legal entity, just renamed, that they then made the R1 and got millions of dollars of investment, and then made a fake product that runs on Android operating system when they promised that it was going to be something brand new that didn't have like an operating system at all. Like it was supposed to be appless, but it was running an Android app was the device. Like it was engineered to look cool, but it just was useless. All this AI stuff is useless. It's not doing anything. Like AI to me is more scary than it is beneficial in a lot of different ways. It does help in some things and I use it, but like there are a lot of things AI is doing that's scary. And then like having robots, like there's some interesting things about that, but like these humanoid robots also aren't super, like it's kind of scary to see those walking around in the future. And I don't know, like we're living in a time now where technology is getting to the point of all those horror sci-fi novels that we used to read, and like Big Brother and like all these different things. It's all coming true. I don't know. It's terrifying to me.
We're living out the dystopian novels that we read about as teenagers.
Yeah.
No, there's definitely something to it. And I guess kind of my question to follow up with this whole thing is like, is technology becoming less fun, or have we just changed the way we interact with it? And I guess what I mean by this is it's like the phone and the iPod used to be so cool to see the next generation of, because it was like this, like, I don't have that yet. I don't, you know, whereas like nowadays it's kind of like, yeah, new iPhone. Should I upgrade? Should I not? I have a phone. I need a phone. It's more, it's like technology has become almost a necessity in life rather than like a luxury.
Yeah.
And because of that, we have like, do you think that's why our mindset has shifted?
Yeah, I've seen another interesting trend recently. One of the things that he was talking about was this curve of cell phone or of phones, right? So you had your wired at house phone, and then you could get a cell phone. So like the technology jumped up, and then there was like the flip phone, so it was more compact and easy to carry. And then there was the full keyboard, and like the technology just kept on going. And
Yep.
then there was connecting to the internet and having like a BlackBerry, and then a smartphone, and then having apps. And we get to this point where you have apps and you have like your everything you need on your phone, and then it just kind of stagnates. It's like now you can get an app to watch all your other apps to make sure you're not using the other apps enough to like manage your
Like an
app
app for
consumption
apps.
on your phone. Yeah, it's like what happened? Like we got to this point, and part of it to me is that we're dopamine addicts. For the
Yeah.
first time in history, humans are addicted heavily to dopamine. And in the past, people had to use drugs to do that. But now we just have these little devices that we carry around all the time, and we're addicted to dopamine. Apps aren't really built to do anything anymore. They're built to just kind of grab your attention and keep you there. He showed like a video or the app that he has for his lights to control his lights in his house has a live stream of people that post things to different social media and put tags on, and it will have a scrollable stream inside of a lights app to change the color of your lights to keep you hooked on the lights app while you're there. Like just the most ridiculous, crazy addict level technology. And to me, that's one of the reasons why people just aren't enjoying it as much anymore, is because it's gotten to the point where, like with a drug, you don't do it because you enjoy it. You do it because you have to do it, you know? And for me, like recently, one of the things I've been talking to my wife about is I want to get they're calling them dumb phones. So like
Yep.
a second phone. So I have my iPhone 15 or whatever the fuss this is. I don't even know anymore.
All hail the iChurch.
Yeah. I think I have that, and it's just always ringing. There's always something. I'm getting messages from work.
Notifications.
I'm getting
like
phone calls from
yep.
spammers. I'm getting notifications. Like it's constantly going. And I just have this desire to, and like right now, we have an iPhone 14 that's sitting around that nobody's using. I'm going to get a new phone number, not download any apps on it. And I'm just going to have my personal phone that only my friends and family have contact with. I'm not going to tell anybody else the phone number. I'm not going to put it anywhere. I'm just going to leave this phone on my desk when I'm done working, and I'm going to carry the other device around just because I would like to have something to call somebody if I have an emergency. You know, like if I'm taking my daughter to the park, I want to just have a way to contact people, but I don't necessarily want all that other stuff. And I feel like that's just becoming a huge trend. People are trying to figure out how to disconnect. And like before, technology, I feel like helped us become better and like do better things, and but now it's just like being made to just consume us. And like video games have always kind of been a interesting topic in that world. I don't mind video games. I love video games, actually. I think that they add a valuable way to escape from the world, just like a book.
Yeah.
But video games nowadays are being engineered to be addicting. I saw a new lawsuit that's going out. People are trying to sue Riot Games for making a game that's too addicting, for keep making people become addicts to their game, like adding in these mechanics to just take people's agency in a way and force them to be stuck playing a video game. And I know people have agency, people have the ability to get off and do things, but when something is engineered to make it so you don't want to get off, like there's a problem. And there was a huge lawsuit that happened in like the 50s with marketing, because people would do subliminal marketing. I don't know if you've seen those before, where they would run an ad, or at movie theaters they would play the movie and they would flash like one frame of a Coca-Cola ad inside of a movie.
Subliminal marketing. Yeah.
And it would make you want to go get a Coca-Cola. Well, that's illegal. But video games are kind of doing a lot of the same things, where they're constantly like trying to get you pulled in and marketing to have you be stuck playing that game. So I don't know. To me, like that's why things aren't fun anymore, is because everything's just engineered to take your ability to enjoy it away, and they just want to make you get stuck and addicted and like in the cycle of using it, instead of just making a fun experience for you to enjoy whenever you were excited to enjoy it, you know.
I totally agree. I One of the best things that I've done like in the past couple of years is I actually had my wife put time limits and with a
Nice.
password onto my phone because like I was playing Call of Duty Mobile ridiculous amounts of time. I was literally in the top 200 players on ranked for a little
Holy
bit there
cow.
because like that's how often I was playing. And I again it was just this thing like literally there's this fantastic book which if you've never read it guys it's actually super interesting. It's called Hooked where this guy he said his name's Nir Ayal and he worked I want to say he worked for companies like Google and he was a what do they call it behavior scientist and he basically studied all these big companies and came up with basically a formula to create habit forming products, games, apps, doesn't matter. Like there's a formula to it. There's a very distinct behavior pattern that you can get people to start doing with an app or a book or whatever and they will continue to come back to it over and over and over again. But the interesting thing that he tried to do with his book is he was like, you can apply that same pattern, that same hack of like getting people into like addictive almost like processes with like video games and stuff. You can actually apply to your own life in
Mm,
productive ways as well. And he kind of breaks that down in this book as well, which is really quite fascinating in my opinion. Um, but yeah, like the whole uh, we need limits. I think that's one of the
for
things
sure.
that we're starting to like realize is that there's a healthy amount for people to be exposed to. There was a guy who died a couple of years ago that I really love to follow on social media, and his name was oh no, I forgot him. No, poor guy. Gosh dang it. He had a whole platform and his hashtag he would always say was called save the kids. And his whole thing is he was trying to get kids off of smartphones. And I really resonated with it because he would have all these just horror stories of kids that were either being like sex trafficked or
Yeah.
just like absolutely manipulated or just like early exposures to adult content on the internet leading to just absolutely crippling addictions or anxiety or depression and stuff
Hmm.
like that. And he was just like, he just started this whole platform where he's like, don't give your kid a smartphone.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, don't give it to him. And he was convinced. He was like, I guarantee in 100 years, people are gonna think we were absolutely nuts to have just handed 10 and 13-year-olds a smartphone with all the
Yeah.
dopamine and the access to the internet and everything else,
Yeah. I agree. I think well, if you go back and look at interviews of people talking like Steve Jobs, I want to say that's who, but they would talk about how they wouldn't give their own kids the technology that they're developing. Like that had to be a sign, you know, like I, if the people that are making the technology know how bad it is that they won't even let their own kids use it, that has to be a sign to everybody else that it's not okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's such a weird thing, and it's like kind of hypocritical. I feel like for me because I make marketing content, and but I feel like they're even in a world where everything is designed to just keep on having you come back. Like there's a way to make content and make things that are responsible. Um, and that's kind of what my goal has been, is to like make things that are fun and interactive, and but for a reason, and make it so it is fun for people to come back, but it's not like, I don't know, tricking them into doing things. I feel like with the technology that we have the opportunity to be even more transparent than we have ever been before, through experiences and through like training and education. But um, yeah, I don't know. There has to be people that are helping on both sides, or on the good side as well. They're involved in the technology. You can't just have the people that are trying to do the sleazy, shady things as well. So
No, I agree. I get the feeling that at some point, like in my career, I will probably turn back into like the huge advocate for like get off of technology,
yeah,
like go
touch grass.
outside, get back out there, because like I was one of those kids who, like, my mom handed me a unrestricted smartphone at like age 13, and that was disastrous. I
Yeah.
got way too into the Gooner bait, but
Well, I have like the opposite. My parents didn't let me use technology at all until way later. I got a computer when I was a senior in high school, and my friends started getting me to play League of Legends, and that's when everything went downhill. Like, not even a joke. I was a D1 athlete. I was going to go to college to play sports. I played video games my whole life. I have always played video games, but it was like Mario Galaxy.
Yeah.
Sit down, play for a weekend, beat the whole game. There you go. I'm quenched. And now it's like, go play sports, go live life, go do things. But when I started playing League of Legends, I became a recluse. I went to college my freshman year. I started playing. I played for upwards of 72 hours straight at some point. Like, I would not sleep for 3 days and play League of Legends.
I imagine that's not healthy.
Yeah. I would like, I didn't talk to my friends for, I want to say weeks, but it was probably more like months. I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't go to classes. Somehow I passed my classes that semester because my teachers were super dope, and I would, turn in stuff still. I just keep up with the syllabus, but yeah, it was rough. I didn't see people because I had a roommate that went home early. I didn't see people for probably a month at one point. I had people come and like take me out of my room because I hadn't left.
Jeez, dude.
Yeah, it was bad. And like, I don't know, all of that to say, like, we just have to be so careful. There's an awesome book that I've kind of been reading, and my wife read recently, called The Anxious Generation.
Yeah.
That's definitely one I would recommend if you guys are interested in learning about that. But I don't know. The more I grow up, and now that I have kids and see like how my daughter's personality changes when she is like stuck watching television, she's a different person. Like, if we'll let her watch a little bit of TV, but once she gets like into it and is like locked in and just wants to keep going, if we tell her no, just a complete like flip switches in her brain. And we're having to learn like what is the right amount of that type of stuff. But yeah, I just feel like technology brings a lot of really good things, but it also brings some really dark things as well. And It's hard to navigate what is good and what is bad. So
yeah, there's definitely healthy amounts of technology. Like, like, guys, we're not on here saying like all video games are bad and all technology is bad. No, there's a healthy amount of video games 100%. You can play. There's a healthy way to use a computer. There's a healthy way to use your smartphone. Mm-hmm. But I'm with you on this one, Declan. I kind of think that who was it? There was this lady I talked to who she got really famous at this one company because she had this saying. It was called safety by default. Mm-hmm. It was like the default settings of the technology that she was producing, which I cannot remember for the life of me what it was like the safest and best possible options for all customers, rather than having it being the most advantageous settings for the customers and the company. And her whole thing was, she's like, look, it is our responsibility ethically as a company who is distributing the software to make sure it is safe for the people who are using it. And frankly, even like, we've got Dutch Sailor in here saying he's got a sail addiction. And that's actually kind of funny. But like, in game design, especially in virtual reality, like, a lot of us VR devs, when you jump into a VR game for the first time, a lot of the times we jack up the motion sickness settings to the highest level, just because that's the safest motion sickness level for everyone jumping into the game. And obviously, if you got better VR legs than most people, you can turn them back down. That's fine, whatever. But that's safety by default. I feel like iPhones especially should come with like, I'm sorry, but like, web restrictions should be enabled. This is one of the things, like, this is one of my big beefs with like the MetaQuest, is when you get a MetaQuest, you get a totally unfiltered, uncensored browser access to the internet. And frankly, I don't think that should be the case. I think that should come like at least at very minimum with some sort of restrictions, at least filtering out adult websites, because like, let's be honest, most people who are jumping into a VR headset are between the ages of like 10 and 19.
Yeah.
And they're male boys, which sorry, male boys are curious,
Yeah.
you know, and they're going to use that browser not for good things. So I really think that by default, some of these devices that are being shipped out should come safety implemented first.
Yeah. And I know it's like a moral debate because people want their ability to do whatever, right? And other people will say, well, it's the parents who have to, be accountable for that kind of stuff. But my parents I could do whatever I wanted on my phone growing up, and my parents would have no idea. They would think that they knew what I was doing and what I was going on. They think they had things that I couldn't get around, and but when I was young, like they had some sort of restrictive something on my phone, and I knew how to get around it. Like parents don't know. Let's be honest, with new technology, like it's hard for older people to stay up to date with everything that's going on in technology to make it safe for their children. Whereas companies should, I think you're right, have like a moral obligation to at least make it safe, give people the opportunity to do what they want, right? But I think they should start by making it the safest way that they can. That's a really good take, I feel like.
I just think that would cover everyone's bases, you know, like, because even an adult grabbing like a new cell phone or whatever, they're not going to be annoyed by the fact that it's like, oh, hey, like this website was blocked. It's like, you know, like I'm glad. I just don't think that's a loss for anyone. And it feels like the right thing to do in today's day and age.
Yeah.
But then, you know, I'm sure the debate would come back around to like, oh, but like, does the company actually know like what's best for its users? Blah, blah, blah. Like you're supposed to have your own agency. But, you know, like sometimes we don't know what's best. And there's lots of new research coming out that is just showing that smartphones are the worst for teenage brains and all this stuff. And it's like, again, I kind of agree with the guy where I think in 100 years, we're going to think it is crazy that we handed smartphones to teenagers. The same way that like 100 years ago, there was like cocaine and Coca-Cola. Isn't that the rumor? And like there was like cigarette commercials with like babies and stuff. And everyone now looks at that and they're like, holy crap, how is that even a thing? And because of like the research and stuff that has come since then, we now know that's terrible. But I think the same thing is going to happen with smartphones is eventually it's going to be like, okay, like this is detrimental, you know, to society as a whole. And we need to take action on it. So interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff coming around. Just another random one. Like, I don't know. I've never watched the Jerry Springer Show, but there's a documentary on Netflix about how the Jerry Springer Show has like influenced the culture that we have now in a really negative way. Like it was a very interesting documentary. I don't know anything about the Jerry Springer Show, but I know people that have watched it. And if you look at like what they kind of made a normal thing on television for the first time ever, they pioneered like having fights on TV with like people and like people yelling at each other on TV, these talk shows where it's just controversy. They pioneered that whole concept that has grown into our modern culture in America so much.
Drama and everything. Yeah, that's interesting.
So there's just been a lot of like reflecting over the last, this year I've seen a lot of stuff coming, but like reflecting over a lot of the media that we've created over the last decade or 2 decades or whatever, and about how, wait a second, like some of that stuff was probably not really good for us to have access to or create. And now we're paying for a lot of that stuff that we put out, you know, as a society in general over the last couple of years. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I know there's a lot of interesting legislation going on right now about especially like in relation to like pornography and stuff like that on Capitol Hill, but a lot of it is diving into more of like the privacy type stuff. It'll be interesting to see like where stuff is at in like 5 years as far as like the internet goes and stuff like that. But like going back to like games and stuff, I really do think that games, going back to our whole talk about like tech's not fun anymore. One of the reasons I love virtual reality is it kind of brings back that physical element. I've seen so many cool things on LinkedIn of people creating augmented reality and virtual reality applications that like they're satisfying to watch people interact with them because it's like a physical interaction again. I saw
Yeah.
this one, I think it's super cool, where this guy puts this thing on it. It's an augmented reality. He puts like a little square on his desk and all these cassette tapes pop up out of it. And he physically grabs a cassette tape and puts it in this cassette tape. And that's how he listens to his Spotify music. That's like how he selects songs. And so like when he wants to do a different one, he like ejects it out, takes it out, puts in another song, and it like brings back that physical element to it.
Yeah.
That you could only achieve in augmented or virtual reality. So
That's
I feel
fun.
like one of the reasons why I feel like virtual reality is gonna stick around and will be a big thing is because it's bringing back that physical interaction. You know, I know a lot of VR devs they're very curious about the fact that like most VR players are boys between the ages of 10 and 19.
Mhm.
And the reason that I personally think that is it's because we live in an age where you can't really like you can go outside and you can get that exercise and you can like be a part of sports team, but like sports are so competitive at this point, it's not for everyone. But
Mhm.
you still have this biological need to move, to act, to fight, to do all these things. And virtual reality offers that to this young generation of men more than any other thing does, while also getting that dopamine hit that they want to see out of like video games and whatnot.
Yeah.
So like literally VR is turning into like a playground. That's
Yeah.
whenever I tell people about VR and the way that I think about it like a playground. Like, what would you want to be able to do with your friends on a playground in elementary school? If you think about it that way, like some of the best games that are out there are like that. I mean,
Yeah,
like
for
take
sure.
Orion Drift. I love Orion Drift because it's literally like a giant playground with a ball.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
And it
for sure.
satisfies some freaking monkey thing in my brain that's like needs that, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Rusty VR asked, "Do you remember what it was like the first time you put on a VR headset and played a game versus like on
Yes.
a flat screen?"
Yes, I remember. I played the first VR game I ever played was Echo VR. That was my
Okay.
first VR experience ever, and I put that thing on, and like it was mind blowing. It was mind blowing to be floating in space. Like I couldn't really do anything, but like at very least I could. Like I didn't understand the controls. Like the controls were not very intuitive to me. I distinctly remember that, but I do remember looking around and just being like, "Whoa, I'm here!
Yeah.
I'm floating in space," and then like looking down at your hands and seeing like the robot hands. I was like, whoa, my hands, like I'm a robot. Like it was just the most bizarre thing to be able to
For sure.
because like you know it tricks you very really in your brain being able to like see at a perceived distance your hands and objects and interact. Wild, absolutely wild. I played Echo VR first and foremost. Blew my mind.
The first one I did was, I don't know if you remember, for a Spider-Man movie, there was a promo VR game that you could play.
Yeah, that thing was fire.
That was the first one I ever really remember playing. You would jump into this world as Spider-Man, and then you would have, I think it was either Vulture or Green Goblin flying around doing different things, and like it would walk you through. You'd put on the suit, so you'd see yourself in the Spider-Man suit, and then you'd shoot like different spider webs at different obstacles, and then you had this battle that you were doing against Green Goblin, I want to say, because I feel like that's always the bad guy, but it could have been Vulture because I think that was the movie at the time. But yeah, it was a really fun experience, and like as somebody that's scared of heights, it puts you on top of a skyscraper. So I was like looking over the edge, terrified, and it made me feel scared. And that's when I realized, like, this is awesome. Like that doesn't happen in a video game, but like looking over it and seeing that I felt terrified, but knowing that I was in a chair, or I was in a lab in school somewhere, but I was still scared of this skyscraper roof. Like that
Oh,
was the thing
that
that
was
changed
wild.
my perception of it. And me personally, I enjoy playing VR, but my favorite thing to do with VR is show it to people for the first time. That is still,
It is a really fun experience.
yeah, I love getting to get people into VR for the first time and have them, like, I remember we had friends and I was using the Chromecast to cast what I was seeing in my Quest onto the TV, and like they're like, "Oh man, this is cool, blah blah blah, whatever." Like, "Oh, this is awesome," but they weren't like super figuring it out yet. And then I put them in the headset and we were playing the Climb
Mm.
1.
Yep.
And as soon as the guy put the headset on, he was looking around and you could see his knees
Start
shaking,
shaking.
and he was sweating. He was freaking out, and he was like climbing and grabbing on, and his muscles were super tense. And by the time he finished the climb, he was super sore. It was like a 10-minute experience, but he had this real visceral physical reaction to VR. And that's just so much fun to see people experience that for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, going back to our topic earlier of like, technology no longer being fun, like VR is one of those things that I feel like recently for us has been fun to like
Yeah.
show people. And there's so much progress in that space as well that when new things come out for VR, it's just really exciting. So, I mean, like to go back to that thing we were talking about earlier is it's just like, maybe those technologies that have been so like such a staple in society lately,
Yeah.
maybe like they've capped out, like maybe they've reached their maximum ability to like innovate because we've kind of figured out like, yeah, this is the maximum use case for a cell
Mhm.
phone. And at this point, it's like only brand new technology like VR and AR and AI are going to have the capability of expanding fast enough to keep our interest, you
Yeah.
know? So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Well, chat, do you guys have anything to add to this conversation? I feel like we went on a tangent there, but I feel like it was
It's a good one. It's a good
a
tangent.
good one. It's interesting. Like you said, VR is still one of those like wild wests where the potential of it is still so undiscovered, I feel like. And there's so much good that you can still do with VR that hasn't even been discovered yet.
So much good. And one of the good things you could do, Meta, since I know you're listening to me, is please, for the love, add a horror tag to the MetaQuest store because we need to be able to sort that out.
Yeah.
Everything, I kid you not, everything is tagged as action adventure.
That's funny.
Oh, man.
One of the things that he brought up in that video, he brought up VR as like we're trying to solve an issue that people aren't really having, type of a thing. Like that was his idea, was like VR isn't super cool because they're making up issues to solve. But then he was like showing the avatars inside of the Quest, and it's like, all right, come on. To
Come
me,
on.
like the thing that's stupid now is the what is it, the Horizon Worlds. Like that's
Ugh,
one of the things
don't get
that's
me
trying to
started.
kill the funness
Don't
of
get me started.
technology. You know,
Don't get me started. I'm already risking you everything every time I open my mouth with my criticisms with Meta. Oh, I'll say this, and I'll say it quietly and calmly. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I like eventually what has to happen, and this is just the rule of economics, is you just have to follow where money goes. And they
Yeah.
will quickly learn that no money is going into Horizon Worlds
Yes.
at all. No one likes it. Burn it, take it out back and shoot it. It's done. Like, ugh. Anyway.
Yeah.
No, going back to that comment, that's kind of interesting. He's like, oh, they're trying to solve problems because, like, the whole premise of Ready Player One, they're like, oh, the world was so bad that you escaped it into VR. And
Mhm.
like, we're not there yet. I still believe that the world is like a great place to explore, go hiking, go
for sure.
outside, go like, we don't live in a bad world. Where I do think VR comes in is there are things that you just cannot do
Mhm.
and that are not accessible to everyone.
Yep.
That, like, again, I made a pirate game. Name a place on earth you can go be a pirate without getting executed, right? Like that's kind of the way that we should be approaching virtual reality and virtual reality development. Like, yeah, some people, I think maybe some people can like agree, like they don't like to represent themselves the way that they're represented physically. And so like, it's really interesting to meet people in like VR chat, for example, and see like the avatars they choose for themselves. I would never, under any circumstances, hope anyone is representing themselves properly using the MetaQuest avatars. Those things are so disturbing. But
you mean
like,
nobody looks like that for real?
Dude, I tried to make myself look like myself and it just wasn't working.
Oh,
So
yeah,
I
it's
decided to make
terrible.
myself look like the Matrix guy. What's his name? Mr.
Neo. Oh,
the bad guy. What's his name? Gosh dang it. Can't remember his name, but like that's what my guy looks like right now. Is because I was like, look, I can't represent myself the way that I want to, so I'm just gonna rep myself as something else.
Yeah.
Whereas like VR chat, I feel like is kind of a better case study for that particular thing because it's like, okay, there's actually like people are actually representing themselves with like characters they love. Like
For sure.
I jumped into the VR chat and I found there's like all these Halo avatars and I was like sick, and I was like running around as Master Chief and I was like, this is dope, you know. But
Yeah.
Agent Smith, thank you, Digital Blade. Yes, my guy looks like Agent Smith on the MetaQuest thing because that's like the only thing that actually made sense.
That's funny.
But yeah, VR, I think sometimes the marketing makes it seem like, oh, like jump into something that doesn't actually exist, and like for problems that don't exist. I can agree with that. Sometimes the marketing gets in the way, but there are things you can do in VR, like for example, play drift ball on a space station flying through space in zero gravity that you can't do in real life. And that's where we need to be pushing the boundaries. Let's be making those things, guys. Let's make the things that you can't do in real life. Make that happen in VR, for heck's sake.
I agree.
And it looks like Sail VR has been taken off the MetaQuest store. Jordan was kind of poking at this last week when we were talking with him. He was like, Garrett's a lot more cavalier with the way he
talks about things.
I'm not afraid to say like the things because I truly am saying it out of the want to make things better.
Yeah.
I hope anyone who is listening to this knows that like I'm criticizing because I want to see it succeed. And like if you were ever to talk to me, meta people, one-on-one about this, I would give you a list of complaints and solutions. I'm not just going to bring complaints to the table. I have solutions for these things. So please, my criticisms only come out of the thing that I want to see stuff succeed. I just want to see this work because it's awesome. It truly is. Anyway, all right. I think I covered my butt enough.
I think so too. You'll be good. So I do have interesting stats though. I was just seeing this, and we can wrap up after this, but just like the podcast in general.
Okay.
Right. So now we have officially been streamed 2,000 times. Guess where in the United States we are streamed the most?
Texas.
Nope.
North Dakota.
Guess what the top 3?
Okay, top 3. Like location. Is it going by state, city, or what?
By state.
Okay, I'm gonna guess number 1 is Utah.
Okay.
Number 2, California, and number 3, Minnesota.
Okay. Number 1 is Washington State.
What?
Number 2 is Texas, and number 3 is Florida.
Yo, my Florida men, send me headlines.
Isn't that funny?
That's awesome. Yo, Washington, my guys.
Yeah.
How's the weather?
That's funny.
That's awesome. Sweet. Hi, yo.
So thanks everybody in, those 3 states. Actually, so
the rest of you guys, screw you.
A lot of people in Australia.
My Aussie mates.
If we compared Australia to the States, actually Australia would be number 2.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, I love me my Aussies.
We get UK, good number in the UK.
Gotta love General Milo.
And then Canada and Germany.
So. Nein sprechen Sie Deutsch.
Yeah.
That's all I got in German. Everything else I know is from Call of Duty Zombies, which I'm not sure is appropriate to say. Freaking Rick Toffin goes off sometimes. Cool, man. Well, we should probably do our game recommendations and wrap it up. Chat, if you guys got any questions for us you'd like us to address before we sign off today, please dump them in the chat.
Yes.
But you got a game recommendation? I got some good ones.
You start. And I've been thinking about this. Right now we do an indie game and a AAA game. What if every week we had 2 like opposing themes? So we changed it every week. So it'd be like a first person or a single player game and a multiplayer game, or like we changed that specific theme every single week instead.
Yeah, because this week, actually, the game that I want to recommend is actually a VR game. And VR is kind of an interesting space because I don't know if there's no such thing as like a AAA VR studio right now. Like there's maybe a few that are just bigger than others, but there's no such thing as AAA in VR. So I feel bad like saying like, oh, this is a AAA title, this is an indie title. But I have a game that I want to recommend. I think all of you guys should go check out. It is called Battle Glide. And the reason that I want to recommend it to everyone is they just announced it has been a single player game. Battle Glide is basically Spider-Man with guns. It's fantastic. If you guys are looking for like Marvel Spider-Man in virtual reality, this is the game you're looking for. But you also have guns, which is so fun. They just announced that they are making it multiplayer, and I am so stoked about that. They're going to be making it multiplayer so you can be Spider-Man with guns with your friends, and the character models look like Deadpool, which I find so awesome. And I just want to support that dev because he has just killed it on all fronts. He made a fantastic game, does incredible marketing, and now he's adding multiplayer to it, which just makes me so much more excited. I'm for sure going to stream that when it comes out. Super, super excited. So Battle Glide VR, guys, go and check it out. Super duper fun.
That sounds awesome. I was having a hard time thinking indie and AAA. So I have an oldie and a newer game that I wanted to recommend.
All right.
So for my oldie, this to me is one of the best video game franchises that has ever existed. I loved it growing up. I had it on my Nintendo 64. And it's probably one that not a lot of people think about. I think about it still a lot because I bought the 2 remastered games recently on the Epic Game Store.
Ooh.
That's Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
They just announced a new one.
They did? Oh,
yes.
Dude, it's so dope.
My post tomorrow is about that, actually.
Okay.
They just announced well, actually, no, it's not about that. My post tomorrow, to drop this in the chat a little bit, is GTA 6 might have VR support.
Oh, that'd be cool.
They just acquired a studio that they've worked with for a really long time, who was in charge of LA Noire, the VR case files, which was a VR addition to the LA Noire game. And they were also the studio that worked on the, what was it called? There was supposed to be a San Andreas VR game. It was supposed to be GTA San Andreas VR. They're going to remake that old game like they did with Resident Evil.
Did they cancel that?
I don't know. No one's heard anything of it in years, but this was the studio that was working on it. And they were just acquired, like officially acquired. And their name was what was their name? It's like Video Game Resolution Studios or something like that. Okay. They're now going to be Rockstar Australia.
Cool.
And like they are very familiar with the VR space, and they have they've done tons of stuff in VR, and so it's like, why would you be acquiring a VR studio if you didn't have plans?
That's funny.
So anyway, that's what I'm talking about tomorrow. But yeah, Activision just announced another Tony Hawk game. I was looking at it. It looks a lot of fun.
So I had Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 on my Nintendo 64. It had a blue cartridge. And I played the heck out of that game. And you can now get it. They have I think it's like $30 for the combo Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 remake that's on the Epic Game Store. And it just as much fun as I remember. Like when that came out, I binged that game for a couple of days. It was so much fun. But one of the most fun franchises, and I will have to say one of the most influential franchises on my music taste. Like now, I love
heavy metal.
No, it's like punk rock, like 90s.
Oh,
punk
no,
rock.
You're right.
Like alternative punk. I still remember almost every song from the Pro Skater 2 soundtrack. Now, I found a playlist of all of the songs from it back then, and they renewed every single song that was on their original soundtrack for the remake. So every song that was on the original game is on the remake as well. So great music.
Tony Hawk Skate. Yeah, no, the new one looks great.
Yeah.
Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, Blood Brothers, Bring the Noise, Guerrilla Radio, Cyclone, Subculture. Oh, I can see this. I've definitely, like, music-wise lately, I've been going back into like a 90s punk phase. I've been listening to like freaking Blink 182 and what's the other one? American Idiot. All those guys. Golly, I love that. That's cool. I'm excited, dude. I feel like it's been a minute since we've gotten like cool different categories of games. Like I'm all for it. I'm so here for like some new skate games and whatnot. It sounds like such a fun. I love it.
One of the reasons why I was thinking about it, there's a new game that just came out on Steam called Hellskate. It's if you look at the most anticipated games, like new games up and coming, it's a skateboarding action roguelite.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Okay. I saw a trailer for a game today, which ironically looks very similar to what kind of our idea for Certain Depths is, but it's a flat screen game.
Okay.
So this is kind of my other recommendation. The game is called Deeper. Here, I'll send you the trailer so you can show it on stream.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of games recently that I've been excited, like just in concept, like for what they've been teasing. I told everyone about I think it's called Jump Space last week. This is another one where it just looks like a fun horror game, and it actually looks very similar to kind of the vibe we want to go for in certain depths with some of the stuff we want to do. So I'm curious to check it out kind of for my own game, to see like what we want to implement there. Oh, but it looks freaky. It's like diving underwater. It's kind of the vibe we want to go for in certain depths.
I like the you have the round thing kind of making it look like you're inside of the helmet. That's interesting.
I love that POV. I definitely feel like that's a very immersive way to do it. If you skip forward a little bit, there's this like people start getting eaten by sharks and stuff, and it's terrifying. It's like, yeah, there you see the shark, right? It's like, oh gosh, dude. Like, I love, one of my favorite things to look up is thalassophobia things. It's like this guy just gets yoinked. Like, imagine, bro. Imagine.
Oh, that'd be terrifying.
Like, this
and then his flipper.
And his flipper's just floating there, bro. Like, that's crazy. Exactly what we're looking for here. I don't know. I'm excited about the game because I feel like that's exactly the kind of thing that I want to do with certain depths. Similar thing. I feel like I've always had this opinion, but like when someone has a good idea, everyone has the same good idea at the same time, and it's just a race to get it out first. So anyway, Deeper looks interesting. It's wishlistable now. I think it looks fascinating.
Cool. My second recommendation, I think, is one of the we might have talked about this multiple times, but to me, it's one of the more revolutionary games to come out when it comes to like creating a new genre in the last couple of years. I believe it came out. Actually, I don't know how old this game is. Let me see if I can find it. It came out in 2022. So it's Vampire Survivors. So they call them either bullet heavens is the genre that I've heard thrown around for it. It's a bullet hell technically, but a bullet hell is a game where there's tons of particles and you're trying to dodge everything. So a bullet heaven is the opposite, where you become the thing that's spraying all these particles and everything's trying to survive you, like the bad guys essentially. And it has like created this crazy new genre that people are just starting to explore for the first time. I've seen so many bullet heaven games. It has overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam. There's 235,000 reviews, and the review is overwhelmingly positive, which is not super
very rare.
Common nowadays. Yeah.
I freaking love the way Steam does their reviews. They're actually so useful. Like it's like positive, overwhelmingly positive. It's like, oh yeah, this is a really good. Yeah, no, that's awesome.
And it's something you can play on your mobile phone. Mobile game, super easy to play. The controls are just a joystick. So you don't control like aiming, you don't control anything. Everything is happening around you. You're just controlling your character.
You are just a terror.
Yep, exactly.
Unleashed upon the world. Love it. Love it.
So would definitely recommend.
Cool. That's a good one. Love it. Well, there you go, chat. There's some good stuff for you. Well, that is just about it for all of us today, boys. Any last questions before we sign off today?
Somebody wants to marry you.
It was retracted. They retracted the statement.
Oh, man.
Don't worry. Maverick's already my stream wife, although he's not here today. Rip Maverick.
Is Garrett cool?
Am I cool?
Depends who you ask.
That's very subjective. If you ask the neighborhood boys, they think I'm a god on earth, but freaking you ask my brother and he thinks I'm a total nerd. Anyway, so sweet. If you guys don't catch us live, remember you can always catch us on Spotify or Apple Music or anywhere you get your podcast, guys. We're on all those platforms, so go and check us out. We're usually live every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Just come and catch us live. You can ask us questions and stuff like that. But again, if you don't catch us live, we're on all the Spotify networks. And be sure to follow our social medias, guys. We're Practically Reality Podcast everywhere. You can find me at Garrett the Gamer. You can find Declan at DCLNXR. Gosh dang it, that's hard to say. You say Declan XR?
It's just my name without any vowels.
All right, so you can go find Declan there, guys. Yeah, I don't know. You got time today, Declan, for post-stream gaming, or just signing off?
Let me see what I've got downloaded. That's the hard part.
I know. I kind of want to jump into a surprise game for chat. If you don't have anything, that's all right.
No, go ahead. I will catch you. We'll coordinate. Well, okay. Next week's stream is actually going to be on Thursday.
Correct.
I think we talked about that. So
yep. We will not be live on Wednesday next week. It will be on Thursday. I will just be getting back from a trip.
Me too.
And I'll be catching up. So we'll be streaming on Thursday next week, guys. And but after that, we should be going back to the normal schedule Wednesdays.
I think on Thursday next week we'll just have a normal stream. If that is, I think that's the plan right now. And then
could possibly get Churchill on board. I think he'd be down for it. Wait, is that GDC the week after that? I might be. Yeah, it is GDC. I will not. I might be coming live from GDC that week, so we could talk a little bit about that
on the 19th.
Yeah, because GDC is the 17th to the 21st, so I will be live at GDC that day.
Okay.
Hopefully, if my plane isn't on Wednesday, I still haven't bought my plane ticket. I have so much to do.
We'll figure it out. I have there's a friend that I have in the AR world that has been posting some viral AR content as of late, especially on like LinkedIn, but a couple of other places too. His stuff's gone viral, and I'd love to have him on to chat a little bit more about the AR side of the world, because we've had some good VR guests.
I've had some good VR guests. And Connor.
Yeah.
No, I think that'd be sweet. Yeah, we should see. We'll see how GDC goes this year. It'll be kind of interesting. I'm actually not that excited about going, if I'm being honest.
It'll be good.
It'll be good. It's always good.
You'll have fun.
The funny thing is like I'm an introvert, actually. Most people don't believe me when I say that. I like to talk, but I am an introvert. I like to talk with my people.
Yeah,
right?
I get that.
I like to talk to the people that know what I'm talking about. But man, going to those social events where it's like, so you make VR games?
I love that stuff, man.
Oh, I hate that with all my heart. Because it like lately it's been like flipped on me where people are like, how did you do it? Like what? And I'm like, I don't know. Just got lucky. Still flying by the seat of my pants here, people. All right, boys. I think we're good to sign off. I think I'm gonna start up another stream. Got a game I kind of want to check out with chat. So if y'all want to stick around, I'll be live in like maybe another 10 minutes, unless the wife comes home and demands I be human.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, boys. That is all from us. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, shoot.
Start the outro music.